I would say the blessing and also the challenge, right? Because leadership oftentimes realize that here is this resource, right? Here are these people who have been asking these questions. Can we come to them? But what is it that you need, right, in order to do this work beyond like just reaching out to these people? So I always say that if and when an organization, I think it's a when, not an if at this point. If you want to start an initiative, right, or a program, or focus on belonging, equity, diversity, inclusion, justice, all of that, as part of your company's culture and the work that you do, you need to start by listening to the folks in your organizations that, oftentimes have been pushing for change for many years and have been ignored. Mm-hmm. Create the chance and the space for them to share to a broader audience, so that people who may have felt that but may have not been very vocal about it for multiple reasons, fear of losing a job, fear of being ostracized, introverts,
resignation.
so that they can feel resonant, right? They can feel that now they are allowed to speak about that. But it is not enough to just ask people to share if you're not ready to act. So I think leadership buy-in is key, right? So whenever you ask people to share their experience, possibly potential solutions, things that they have noticed in the organization, you must be ready to act on it with resources. Because if you ask people to do this work as part of like a side gig as volunteers, you are going to burn out your most passionate people. And you will create more distrust, because people will feel like, okay, here's one more chance for you to really like exploit my passion, but what is coming out of that, right? So when you ask people for opinion and for them to share their experience, you have to have the leadership buy-in to act. I also say one of the key things that you need is probably data, right? Demographic data, so that you can stratify the data, especially if you're looking at outcomes from your work, outcomes from your program, outcomes from your initiatives. Because without that demographic data, without being able to stratify it by race, ethnicity, language, by gender identity, by sexual orientation, you are not going to see the disparities, right? Because on average, everything might look fine, but once you stratify that data, you are going to see that fine result is not fine for everyone to the same level. And equity work is all about addressing disparities and inequities. And then I think I mentioned that very briefly, but I think it's very important to put resources behind the work, to not see it as, a volunteer gig, as something that people do on the side, but really think about that as, if you think about quality, right, there is no quality without equity, because if you measure impact and you don't measure how that impact is for different populations, you might actually not be as successful as you think you are.